Kayfabe crew. What's going on, everybody? Ed Piskler in the house today. Super cold weather here in Pittsburgh. That could mean only one thing. Good comic book making weather here in town. Working on page 18 of Red Room issue 5. Page 18 of 22. Ryan B, what's up, homeboy? Thanks for joining the stream. I'm gonna be streaming a lot of the work from this point forward. You know, I was chomping at the bit, just waiting for that Red Room announcement to hit the streets so that we could resume these rap sessions. I'm going for like a real underground vibe, like a Spain Rodriguez kind of vibe, or Rick Veitch's early stuff with these sound effects. Let him be a little wobbly, let him be a little hairy. Fits the aesthetic of the mood of the comic. I don't know if you guys are connected on my Instagram or anything, but if you see what the art looks like in its final stage, it's got that raw 1980s gritty black and white aesthetic to it. Power Comics. Everybody join that Power Comics YouTube. Everybody join that Power Comics Instagram account. They're digging deep in the crates, bringing you some wild ass shit. You guys aren't here to see me do sound effect lettering, though. I'm just warming up that wrist a minute, man. And then we'll get started on some hairy-ass gore. Listen, everybody, it's Friday. You ain't got no job, and you ain't got shit to do. So come hang out and stream. Why not? I just rewatched Friday for the first time in forever, a day or two ago. That's a good flick, man. Alright, I'm gonna bolden up these lines in a bit. This is like a dream sequence, so the panel borders can be a little jagged, a little fucked up, a little off center. It's a surreal moment, so you don't want it to have the rigidity of like our other stories. I think last time I checked it was 19 degrees here in the Berg. That is what we call good comic book making weather, people. Not like your homeboy Ed needs a fucking excuse to make some comics, especially now that I'm on that monthly grind. I worked reasonably far ahead. Gonna start working on smaller paper after this issue. I did 3 issues on smaller stuff. The last half of issue 1 is on smaller paper too, and I could just get it's basically the same level of craft in literally half the time. You know, I was able to double my output. It's just there was some real complicated stuff that needed drawn in this comic. The Red Room comic is about... It takes place in a world where people are exploiting the anonymity of the dark web. And for those of you guys who don't exactly know about Tor and onion routing and how the dark web works, your computer, you get a special browser, you get the Tor browser, you log on, you connect. Your computer goes through an encrypted channel, hits another computer, say in Sweden, gets encrypted again, hits another computer in Denmark, gets encrypted again, gets output to the website that you're seeking. The website that you're seeking cannot tell where the fuck you came from. So there's this cloak of anonymity there. And there are hidden websites that, like, the most popular would probably be this site called the Silk Road that was like an Amazon for black market materials, drugs mostly. Got shut down a long time ago. So the idea of Red Rooms is that people are exploiting the dark web, the anonymity of it, using Bitcoin and sort of some other tools to stream, like, you know, those cam girl websites, except we're talking torture, murder, snuff videos, but the person on the camera is processing requests for the sick fucks who are in the lobby watching this stuff happen. So with that problem presented in the world, that's where the comic kind of takes off. Each issue going to be a self-contained story focusing on a different aspect of that kind of universe. So you'll learn about the people who make the videos. You'll learn about the victims. You'll learn about the customers, the people who actually want to watch this kind of stuff, want to have agency over another human life. So I guess what I'm saying is it's an all ages comic. Rainy day fun for boys and girls. Read a great book about the Silk Road guy that provided a lot of insight for the comic. The book was called American Kingpin, and the Silk Road guy's name's Ross Ulbricht. And staunch libertarian cat, wanted to create a kind of eBay that fit into his libertarian ideals. You know, what goes in your body is your business, blah, blah, blah. And he got it off and running. You know, he put in the work, and the site, the site was gangbusters. A lot of people who, if you have a friend who's very off kilter, and they got very, very rich because of Bitcoin in the not too recent past, it's very possible that they might have had Bitcoin back in those Silk Road days, because people were using that to trade for drugs and, you know, other illicit stuff. And when I first read about that site, I think a Bitcoin cost $60. So I know several people who may or may not have used the site and just, you know, sat on their Bitcoin, not even thinking about it. And then the rally started happening, and they're like, oh, I have $200,000 now. But one of the things that I discovered while reading the book, and you know, as the guy set this up with his like libertarian ideals, right? Well, what happens when a, 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 a seller wants to post cyanide on the website, right? Or it was either cyanide or arsenic, I forget exactly which. And he had to do like all these mental gymnastics, like, well, you know, cyanide or arsenic, I forget which, can be used to clean jewelry. Doesn't mean that the buyer will be looking for it to, you know, poison somebody. Very dark stuff. Very, very dark stuff. Now, I haven't heard the story of the German cannibal who ate somebody he met off the dark web. That's the thing. There's so many good kind of horror possibilities that can be explored in kind of pop culture terms, um, using the dark web, the internet. And that was sort of part of my interest as well. Adam, thanks for that pre-order. If you guys haven't done so, hit that link and pre-order Red Room issue 1. It's been real fun getting my status updates and seeing how many of these suckers are going. At a certain point, we're going to be competing with the big two, with the amount of issues we're going to have to print up, man, and that's going to be pretty fun, man. Very gratifying, especially since this is such a weird comic. You know, there needs to be more weird comics out there, so we're going to make that happen. Set an example. Your homeboy Ed has never been one to follow the crowd. Never in a million years. Put it this way. It's only been a week, and we're going to be on the road right now to 2,000 pre-orders. Things coming out in May. You guys probably know how it goes, man. You see it in enough interviews. The new comic that a cartoonist makes is always the best comic. You know, that's the answer that everybody gives. This is no exception. This is issue 5 that I'm working on, and I can't wait to put it in your hands when the time comes. Just learning so much. The X-Men Grand Design was a kind of a grad school program for myself to just try certain things and try to figure out certain storytelling mechanisms. And each of these issues has been a real education. And this one in particular is going to be a wild one to check out aesthetically, man. There's a little color that's going to be used strategically. I need to stay engaged, you know? So every issue is going to be a touch different. You know, going to play with some different storytelling conventions. Maybe use some color. Heck, I still have 7 issues to do, so I might do one in pencil. You know, reproduce straight from pencil. Who knows? McKinley Richard, that's the way to do it. You know, pre-order the comic, get the comic shops on board. They're not able to order it right this moment. Soon though, I gotta talk to the publishers and see when that can happen, because that's a new set of marching orders I'll put out there once that's possible. But because we can't just automatically make that happen, we have to go through the proper distribution channels for that. What can we control? We could put up a button on the Fantagraphics website and let you guys know about it. You know, action items. Not about sitting idle. Not about screwing around. You know, make comics, put comics in the hands of people who want to read comics. That's the marching orders. Jimmy and I had a great recording session yesterday for Kayfabe. In fact, the video we put up today, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle vid, is something that we recorded yesterday. Big fan of that artisan edition. Check out those scans of the original TMNT issue 1 pages. Can't beat it. Mike V asks, any difference from pre-order or ordering by way of previews? And for those of you who are unfamiliar, even though I do like inside baseball jargon, I don't want to take for granted the fact that people might be coming here casually, not know, all this deep stuff about how comics work or whatever. So previews is the catalog that all the stores use to order out of. The difference between the pre-order and ordering through previews or your comic shop is that with the pre-order, that comic is going to get delivered straight to your house, man, like Grubhub or something, man, Amazon Prime, whatever. Going to come straight from the Fantagraphics warehouses. Here's the thing, though. Depending on the pre-orders we get and depending on the orders that we get from shops will sort of signify how many of these things we print. And historically, my comics always are underprinted and over demanded, so people are always left out. I would suggest you put in the pre-order ASAP. It gives us some idea on how many of these things to put out there. Oompa 1987. Thanks for that super chat. I don't do much by way of just practicing lettering, but I letter my comics, so every day I'm doing it. Let me just grab something real fast. I'll sort of show you. Boom. This is from a couple of issues, man. This is from issue 0 and this issue right here that I'm working on. So there's my lettering practice. Just so happens that you guys get to see that practice on the printed page. It's all practice. What the hell? It's all practice for the next thing. If we do stuff right, we should continue to get better. No hating on the computer fonts, by the way. I mean, there are real shitty fonts that a lot of people seem to insist on using, and we'll forever bust on that. But my art style is very raw. Unrefined, so it looks wrong with a computer font. It needs to be hand lettered. If you have a more precise style, font might suit you. Oompa, yes, I'm scanning it in digitally, and then I basically take that lettering in Procreate, move it around, make panels around it, do a quick sketch, print that out, then do further pencil on top of that. It's actually a very inefficient process, but I just can't figure out how to speed it up and get the same and get same or better results. So I'm sort of stuck with it at the moment. What started as 7 inbred weirdos with their hair tied together in a frenzy, ripping each other apart, is now down to 2. Just wait till you guys see the money shot. I'll probably still work on it on a stream, but let's agree that you block it from your mind, 6 months from now, or however long it's going to take for this issue to come out. Might be closer to something like 9 months from now. Something tells me you have a very rich life and you'll quickly forget about it. But when you do see it, you'll remember where you were when you were watching that piece get drawn. It's a doozy. Well, it should be a doozy. I did the roughs, and I sort of look at it every day, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to really draw that. You'll see what I mean. Probably 2 pages from now. Stormcrow, I'm glad you say that. I'm glad you mentioned a demonstration of duotone. Because that is kind of on the list for next week's recording session. On top of my pages, what I have to do is do a little demo piece so that we can develop it on the cam, and you can see what I mean about the magic of watching the duotone develop. Greg Nowhere. You know what? Edward Lee's name comes up a lot in best of lists when it comes to Splatterpunk and this kind of horror. I've not read The Big Head, but everybody recommends it, and I have to. I have to check it out. Only a matter of time. But I'm very interested in seeing it. Very interested in reading it, I should say. Having to draw these gnarly feet is probably the grossest part of all the panels. You know, it's not the severed heads. BB, has the staff of Fanta said anything about the kayfabe effect? Yes, they absolutely have. I warned them. I told them you guys are going to be showing up. And you know what? They were ready. But yeah, for sure, there's been a lot of feedback from Fantagraphics, and you guys are definitely showing up in a big way, and I'm thrilled, super thankful for that. And I'm definitely going to be here doing my best to try to make the coolest comics that make you feel good about your purchase. One of the big things that I kind of identified is just not working for me when it comes to those regular monthly comics really is just the disrespect that they have for the reader. You know, getting you to shell out $4 or $5 a month to read one sixth of a story. Are you fucking kidding me? And because you guys like, you know, the character, the story, whatever, so much, like you keep coming back, and you'll buy that next issue, and you'll buy that next issue. And they know that. But it doesn't seem sustainable. I feel like the better strategy would be you plunk down your $4, your $5, whatever it is, and you get a full experience within those 22 pages. You get a full, honest-to-goodness story. Elements can continue into the next. Sure, why not? But if you're going to buy something, you should get something complete. So that's what I'm going to try to do. I worked up to a position where I can take this time. I took most of 2020. I took all of 2020 and just use that as an investment year, a productive year, to just hang tight, work on these comics ahead of time so that I could put these comics out reliably, regularly for you. And we'll see what you think. I think a lot of you guys are going to be happy with your purchases. Yeah, Brubaker's Lowlife was a good comic, man. He was a good artist. Like, something happens with some of these writers. I think even Grant Morrison said it in interviews before, where he talked about drawing, and then at a certain point was just like, I made a choice. Just lean into the writing part. Look at these swinging ass titties. Just these empty pastry bag boobs. Help sell that motion. What's up, Tom P? Sorry that notification doesn't get to you. The way YouTube works, it's weird, man. Like, it's definitely only pushing the notification out to a very tiny percentage of the subscribers. And then I think the way it works is, if a critical mass, heeds the bat signal, then it'll push it out to a couple more. All right. Mike V, thanks for pre-ordering Red Room, man. Yeah, Carrion Man. See, that sort of explains what I just said. Like, they'll put out the notification to a handful of you guys. Enough of you show up, it'll put the notification out to a couple more. And who knows how random those notifications are. But listen, you're here now, and I'm going to keep rocking for a while. There's mad work to be done. How many of you are also hanging out drawing right now? You know that's a question I like to ask. Smokey's video, thanks for pre-ordering on day one, man. I feel like we should make Red Room the GameStop stock of comics. You know, I would love to see this crazy comic compete with that corporate sludge. And if it does, if you guys really do pump up these numbers, watch how it affects those big two comics, depending on how successful it is. Let that dry up a little bit. Spidey won't become a serial killer, man, but he'll definitely have to vanquish the evil of serial killers. Batman too. This is the quickest this boy has ever moved. got my first big break thanks to an underground comics writer, legendary underground comics writer by the name of Harvey Pekar, Pekar. Did great autobiographical comic called American Splendor. He put one issue out per year for many, many years. Self-published it. Lived and worked in Cleveland. And they made a movie about him in the early 2000s. I was a fan of the comics. Discovered him thanks to the comic book Confidential documentary from the 80s, Ron Man film, Toronto Represent. And when the flick came out, it made me think about, sending Harv some stuff, man. Like, something told me that he was going to be a little bit busy with offers and stuff after the flick came out. So I started sending him comics, and he hit me up and just called the house one day. I was 21 years old, still living at home with mom and dad, paying off some student loan debt. And my pops came in the room, woke my ass up one day because I was working 3 till midnight, I think was my schedule, and some guy named Herbie something called ya. Picked up the phone, talked with Harv, didn't believe it was him. He has this very specific kind of raspy, gravelly voice. Saw the movie maybe 2 weeks prior with a couple of friends, and I really thought it was one of my friends playing a vicious practical joke. And it wasn't. It was the real guy. Took a little while for the project to come to fruition. He had a lot of stuff to do, as you could imagine. If they make a movie about you, you're going to be on the road a bit that year. So when people ask about those like early chances, those early shots I was given, man, I always say that Harvey Pekar was like as important to me as my folks in some ways, man. Like, the dude, he gave birth to my professional career by taking the chance. Super thankful for that. Nah, Quinn, the difference is I make my own comics. I'd write and draw my own stuff. Harv was a writer. He needed the artists to get the vision out there 100%. And the other advantage of getting a young artist on the hook was those young eager beavers, they work cheap, and I was no exception. $100 a page. Did a couple graphic novels with Harv. 150 pager, then 120 pager, and I didn't get my money until the last page was turned in. So I lived in fucking squalor for a year when I did that first one. Barely went out. That's when I let me think about that actually. When I started hanging out with Jim. No, it was like before that and in the midst of it. So the only time that I would leave the house pretty much was to hang out with Jim and Tom. And when we would hit the coffee shop up or whatever, I honestly don't even think I had enough loot to buy coffee. You know, I just smuggled in a bottle of water and tried to be low key about it. No, Harv wasn't too much of a taskmaster. I would show him the pencils before they would go to inks. But he sort of knew the score, you know, he knew that he wasn't paying much. Did Harvey want the likenesses of the characters, or could I design them? He would give me some broad strokes, but they were pretty much up to me. One piece he definitely wanted me to change once, now that I think about it, was interpretation of the wife. I wasn't trying to be mean in any stretch, and he didn't think so either. But she definitely preferred that I drew the 80s version. And I remember him giving me the call and whispering, "My wife's tearing my head off, man. You think you could repencil that?" Mr. Roboto, thanks for the pre-order. Much appreciated. You guys are going to dig this Red Room stuff. And honestly, I hope that we keep that energy up throughout all 12 issues. Because I have enough ideas to do another 12. But that's going to kind of be up to the crowd. Because I have other ideas too. Been going to sleep every night, like watching some kind of weird horror thing. And it's been like infiltrate my dreams in very kind of creative ways. I'm not racing it to work on any DC characters or anything like that. Doing the X-Men Grand Design thing wasn't even something I was planning on. Like, to be honest, I should have been working on Red Room like 5 years ago. But Axel at Marvel kind of called my bluff when I put this tweet out. And it was just like, Marvel should let me do whatever I feel like doing with X-Men. He was like, alright, motherfucker, well, what you gonna do? And then I was like, blah, 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 blah. But then thinking about it, I'm just like, man, I want to draw. If I'm gonna do a Marvel thing with the X-Men, I want to draw a little bit of it all. So that's where Grand Design comes from. But the real value of Grand Design for me personally was just helping to invest into this, really, because now I can put together 12 issues of a comic that has to find an audience from the ground floor, from zero, you know, no built-in audience. And guess what? Thanks to you guys, this thing is looking to be a motherfucking hit. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Quinn. Give Red Room, the Wall Street Bets, GameStop. Is it GameStop or GameSpot? You start your own comic by making your own comic, and I do suggest self-publishing to start. Because you're probably not going to sell that many through a publisher in order to justify it for yourself. You know, you're going to get checks that are real weak, and you're going to be like, what the F? But if you self-publish, you get all the money. Pekar on Letterman was dope. The only sad thing about it for me is that he has that Harvey has that reputation of, like, and you'll see it in all the articles, the lovable curmudgeon, blah blah blah, the grouchy Harvey Pekar, like all that stuff, and he just flat out wasn't. You know, it was just by virtue of being on that television program that he got that label, because he just wasn't that dude. You know, he was a really nice guy, sweet dude, no grouch at all, and super funny, super funny. Rad man. Shouts to the Brooklyn crew. I miss NYC, man. This is probably the longest I've gone uh, without being in the city. There was a period of time where if there was something cool going on, a cool rap show or something, I would hop on a train here in Pittsburgh, hop on the Amtrak. It would take 9 hours to get to New York. So the train leaves at, I think it was maybe like 7 in the morning. And then get to New York like 4:30. Go hang out. Go do whatever I was going to do. Go see the rap show. Go, see Frank Miller speak or something. And then hop on a mega bus back to Pittsburgh that night. Gotta be on the bus by like 11:30. And then get dropped off back in Pittsburgh 7 in the morning the next day. I did that so much, man. But turns out that like once I turned 30 years old, I started to need to sleep a little bit more. Couldn't do that anymore. It would wreck my day. Bill Shannon, what's up, homie? It's been too long, man. Andrew, good morning from Australia. The furthest point away from Pittsburgh, on the other side of the planet. Yeah, you're gonna love that monster book by Barry Windsor Smith. Got a hold of the digital of that. And it is insanely rigorous. It's going to win every award. And it should. No, I'm not open to having someone else write my comics. The beauty of comics is that one person can do the whole thing, and you can count the great comic book collaborations on two hands with fingers left over. No, we haven't done an episode on negative burn. I have an issue or two, you know, like I don't have very many of them. I'm not sure what Jimmy has. So until I come up on a grip of them myself, or, you know, Jimmy comes up on a grip of them, it's doubtful that there will be a negative burn episode on the horizon. BL Fisher, thanks for that pre-order. There's a fresh link right there in the chat for you guys to pre-order Red Room. You guys are honest to goodness making this thing a hit, and it's fun to see that happen. Make a weird independent horror comic a bestseller. I like the sound. It has a nice ring to it. And you guys are on the ground floor for the shit. Actually seeing the stuff getting made. There's going to be a lot of tones here, done digitally. If you see my Instagram, if you're on my Instagram, you could see like what one of the latest pages, like one of the latest panels looks like with the duotone applied. So when you see the actual pen and ink illustration, it's like 70% done. Smoke, draw, repeat. Welcome to the mayhem. Welcome to the insanity. Knowing the demographic data of the people who come through, and it's comparable to Jimmy and my age. Here's a fun question to put out to the chat. All right, USA Up All Night, Rhonda Shear or Gilbert Gottfried? Go. That's one for Gilbert. Alex, thanks for joining the chat. The rat queens don't groom, so hairy underarms. Hey, John Leonard, you blew up my spot, man, because when enough names for Rhonda and Gilbert were going to come through, I was going to say the correct answer is Joe Bob Briggs. Joe Bob Briggs is probably responsible for some of the best DVD audio commentary tracks out there. I Spit on Your Grave, Samurai Cop, Warlock Moon, a flick in which there are no warlocks nor moons, nor night shots. It took us forever to get the movie channel here in Pittsburgh, and Joe Bob was already on Monster Vision by the time we got the movie channel. It took us so long to get it. Pittsburgh's always like far down on the rung of culture or something. And it would be such a tease too, man. I remember like, because you know how all the, there's like however many 4 or 5 companies that own all the networks. When we were kids, watch wrestling or something on USA, and then see commercials for Akira on the Sci-Fi Channel, or Star Wars would be playing on the Sci-Fi Channel, and we just didn't understand that. Hey, Mom, what's up with the Sci-Fi Channel? Like, can we watch Star Wars? We don't have the Sci-Fi Channel, but there's a commercial for it. Why would there be a commercial for something that we can't, flick to? And then that stuff would come in waves. You know, we got Sci-Fi Channel the same time we got Comedy Central and Cartoon Network. Just like a switch gets flipped. Yeah, Vampire Hunter D. I remember seeing that on TBS. And TBS would replay it. So it was a friend who caught it and told me about it. He's got a metal horse. His hand has a mouth and can, you know, has a Hoover vacuum suction to it. The D is for Dracula. HBO wasn't that good back in the day, man. They played the same shit all the time. It would be good stuff. But then it would also be in between movies. I remember Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer music video would play on HBO between every fucking movie. I remember The Last Straw in the Piss Gore house growing up from mom and dad was like the 10th time that Howie Mandel's Walk Like a Man, the flick where he was raised by wolves or whatever and joined civilization, when that was on for like the 10th time, Pops is like, fuck this bullshit, man, we're getting Cinemax. Yeah, I got the DVD for Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust on the strength of my love of Ninja Scroll. And I think I only watched it one time. But I have it. But I only watched it once. And I don't have a burning need to check it again. So does it suck that bad? Like, why don't I want to see it again? It must have really rubbed me the wrong way. The animation is definitely dope. And I became friends with the character designer. He's the same dude who did the Ninja Scroll stuff. For Bloodlust, not the original Vampire Hunter D. Madhouse crew, that's goddamn right, baby. What's up, Izzy? What size paper am I using? This is 11 by 17 right now. A little bigger than I've been used to, but pretty much the standard size of Marvel or DC monthly comics. But after this one, I'm going to go back to 9 by 12. This is a little bit more complicated of a story with all the kind of moving parts involved, and I just felt more comfortable drawing it bigger. But it's definitely less efficient. What's up, Tony? Yeah, Jack Cat's First Kingdom comics are awesome. There will be a Kayfabe video about them at some point. Just a remarkable achievement, way ahead of its time. No idea what the page layout size is, but what you do is you take an 11 by 17 piece of paper, you do a 10 by 15 image area, you shrink it down and put it on 9 by 12, and that's the size. You just got to keep proportional. I still remember seeing heavy metal for the first time. I was in 3rd grade. It was on Cinemax or something. And it was like, had no idea about the magazine. Zero. Absolutely knew about the cartoon first. And I just, it blew my mind, you know. Just obviously the weird nudity and shit. You just never saw that in a cartoon before. Unbelievable. And the F word. And then you have, like, you know, John Candy doing the voice of Den. And I remember he called, like, Den, John Candy called his dick a dork. My dork was out or something like that. And I never heard that before. Or was just never conscious of it. But then after I heard it on the show, on the flick, like I heard it more often out in the wild. Old drunk dudes at the apartment complex and shit. Gotta drain the dork or some bullshit like that. So it taught me things. And then I honestly can't remember how I discovered the magazine. but I think it was probably on the strength of Arzak. You know, seeing that pterodactyl type image and associating it with the flick, and then just being like, what? What is this? Just ripping some flesh. What's up, Gabriel? And then after seeing heavy metal, then it's like, all right, man, this now I know what Captain Stern is. Like, I'll have to get that comic. Yeah, that World War II segment was so sick. Jason, thanks a lot for spreading the word, man. That's the thing. If you guys have pre-ordered the comic or put an order in with your shop, spread the word, man. Like, send that pre-order link out on your socials to the people you know who would dig this kind of comic, and spread that word far and wide, man. Joe Anderson, thanks a lot, dude. Thanks for supporting the Patreon as well, man. Clark Kent, thanks for spreading the word. The Red Room Gospel. Pablo shouts, man. Yeah, congrats on your grind. Congrats on your hustle, man. Work on your comic and hit and kick it. It's like we got a big studio operation running right now. Little comics making factory digitally. I have to rewatch that Wizards flick. It's been a long time. You know what? Let me go grab something real quick. All right. Just while we're talking Bakshi, Jeff Campbell, thanks for that super chat. Just while we're talking Bakshi, how about that shit, huh? Let me shut this out real quick. How cool is that, right? He hit us up and was like, what flick of mine do you like the most? And I'm like, that's impossible to say, but I do like this guy right here. Look at the paint on the back there. It's a really great composition, you know, like centered up right there. You know what? I'm gonna have to go mute for a second. That was some hardcore multitasking right there. That was the lawyer calling in. We have some, off the bat, we have some cool opportunities that have come down the pike. That's why I'm sort of telling you guys, man, you want to be in on the ground floor of that first printing. We're working on some stuff. That is a good question right there, Smoke Draw. Repeat. Does Bubblegum Crisis still hold up? Because I got a hold of that series, and I wouldn't mind giving it a shot. I would say that the first Appleseed holds up. Where were we before the lawyer called up? Oh yeah, we were looking at some original art. Let's look at some other stuff. Check this one out. The great Jim Mahfood sent this piece in when we were doing our Miracle Man footage every every Saturday. We did the first 15 issues, and the following day he would draw a Miracle Man piece to kind of go along with the video. So here's little Ed, Tom Scioli, Ben Mara, there's Jim Mahfood, and then we have our characters, man. We have those weird aliens, got our Miracle Man there. We got that female, the Miracle Woman, MW, and then Kid Miracle Man. Good ink he uses here. His line is so good too. Let's go Outlaw people. Look at this one. Troy Nixie page. What's up, Jabba? Bill the Clown. Look at all the screen tones and stuff that he uses. Printed up lettering, pasted up lettering. Rigorous stuff. Here's a Joe Vigil page. Duotone board. I picked this one up because I'm a Lovecraft head, man, and I like this Lovecraftian tentacle villain. This has it all, man. A little bit of decimation, black blood, explosions. When these pages popped up, all my homies grabbed a couple of pages. They were all on eBay. Back to business. Back to business. How do I feel about Mobius? Fucking love Mobius. We're gonna be doing a Mobius video sooner than later. Back to the Rat Queens. How does it feel to want, Radman? What's up, Sally? Thanks for coming through, visiting the channel. Ooh, there should be like a cool silhouette. Something like that. I love the idea that you're working on a children's book illustration while hanging out in this chat. I suppose I'm working on a kind of children's book illustration as well, because I would have read this comic as a kid. I read Faust comics as a kid. There was no censorship in the Pittsburgh house. It's still wet. Mark, shouts, man. Thank you. Thanks for coming through. The streams are kind of a revolving door of people who kind of pop in, show up for a couple of minutes, then bounce out and stuff. And a every time I do a stream, there is a kind of a deluge of pre-orders that go down on the Fanta site. So I do want to thank everybody for that. Also, that said, did anybody here who just popped in today, did you pre-order the comic today? It's kind of fun to see how effective this stuff is. And there's a link to make it happen if you haven't done so yet. I had a funny existential moment that occurred earlier in the week. Got a email or a DM or something from somebody, and they said that I was one of their favorite cartoonists since their childhood. Never heard that before. And then that same day, I saw that I had a white chest hair. Just one. Both of those things happened on the same day, though. Kind of funny. You know what? There's another kind of funny kid incident that happened through Kayfabe more than once since the channel cropped up, And I'm not going to encourage you guys to go out there on YouTube and check it out, man. I might not even still be there, but there was like a little dude posting drawing videos, and he was drawing a like a Tim Vigil Conan or something like that. And he was a little kid. He's like, I discovered Tim Vigil from Cartoonist Kayfabe. And a big part of my shit was like, our job is done. Our job here is done, man. We did what we're supposed to. But there have been definitely been little dudes showing up on like Insta and the other social media platforms, man, who when they see like the Batman bootleg or something, they give the exact response that I would have gave if I would have seen that when I was a little dude. This is so cool. Shit like that. Super funny. The idea here is that there are like these like windows in this nondescript four-walled cube room, but there are these little cutouts, these little windows for webcams to stream. And I just imagine that there are 30 cameras set up in this room to just capture the best angles for the customer. Camera 1, camera 2. Camera 1, camera 2. Are there competing red rooms in my series, or one central shadowy figure that runs them all? Or is it something that we'll have to wait and find out? There are competing businesses. You have to imagine it's like, drug dealers or something, man. Like with somebody... Success breeds imitation, and there are competing businesses vying for, the customer's Bitcoin. So it's like a subculture. And we're looking at one of Mistress Pentagram's greatest performers, known as the Decimator. But there absolutely are competing performers, and sometimes there are amateurs. Sometimes there are singular people trying to make a go at it. They ultimately will fail. The finished book will not be colored per se. Got them to change the full color statement on the site just because I knew that that would be trouble for me. Because it is printed in color, but that's just so that I am not using crisp black and white. You know, I'm softening it up with some color. So behind these windows are webcams. But then up on the ceiling there will be those little ball webcams that are movable, you know, remote controlled. Because we got to capture the atrocities at all angles. And they just like align the perimeter and then, you know, through certain rows. Well, it's the dark net, so it takes place whenever the dark net exists. And there are no flying cars, but I don't use, you know, 2020 or something like that. Those details don't matter. That said, there is like a shot of some 1980s Red Rooms on VHS in issue 4. I've not played Manhunt, but I do like Rockstar games a lot. I'm a big GTA fan. And I was drinking the Rockstar Kool-Aid for a hot minute. In fact, I had state of emergency. State of emergency was pretty bad. That was probably why I was like, I'm not gonna really mess with these other joints. My kid brother had Bully, and I think I actually have the game here. But we're working on monthly comics these days, man. There's no time to pop them in. Put some of those McFarlane details in this bitch. Dirty it up some. Maybe even put some good gore on these walls. Characters getting splattered up against the wall. Jabba, I've just been grinding, man. I've just been taking the excuse of COVID to kind of hunker down and just keep busy. Check in with my friends, check in with my fam. Keeping the bubble tight. I've always kind of been my best company anyhow. So I am definitely kind of fortunate in that I was planning on working on this anyhow in 2020. So COVID kind of just made it easier. There've been struggles, like there's definitely been some my My circle has not escaped COVID issues, and that's been scary. But everybody's come through things. Definitely crazy times, though. Part of me, it feels like, dude in that old bomb shelter or something. Just sitting here doing my thing. Let everybody else kill each other, and then when it's all said and done, I'll come out of my little hole and see what's what. Pippin, thanks for that heads up. Anthony, thanks for that pre-order, homie. You guys realize it's only been 1 week. It's only been 1 week since the comic was announced, and we're on the road to 2,000 pre-orders. God damn it, you guys have showed up in a big way. You know, when I asked the question earlier, I didn't look up for my drawing. Who all pre-ordered the comic today? No, Joe. We're on the road to 2K. Not quite at 2 yet. I don't think. Not far away though. But we're going to be relentless. You know, from 2 then comes 4, cuz we're trying to be exponential with the growth. That's what the internet affords us. Anthony, thank you. Adam, thank you. Jacques, thanks a lot. That's the way to do it too, Jacques. Like, hook yourself up and hook up somebody you know who would dig this kind of comic, man. And there's a lot of you out there. My whole strategy for comic book making is to kind of not play directly to the comic book crowd. You know, always make something for someone who's kind of new to the game. Even X-Men Grand Design, you're like, oh, but that's built-in comic stuff. The whole point of that was like, let me try to make something for somebody who didn't fuck with X-Men. Boom. Girl's got to be janked up. Drew, thanks for pre-ordering the comic. Josh, you know what? Talking about the pre-orders to Canada, I looked into it with the publisher, and I don't think that they're gonna be able to bring that cost down. I think international rates here just increased, and they advised me that probably the best bet is just get it through your shop. I'm gonna make the call. Like, I'm gonna let you guys know as soon as it's available through your comic shops. You know, when it's in the Diamond catalog. But get it through the shop and get it put on your pull list, man, so that you could get every issue. Suicide Club, an old classic. Yes, I know that one well. Or no. Like, never mind that. Scratch that. I was thinking of Suicide Circle, a Japanese flick. Maybe I did see Suicide Club then. Okay, yeah. Then, yeah, I saw it, man. Great sequence where, 24 kids each grab one another's hand, scream, 1, 2, 3, jump in front of a moving train, and just rivers of gore. Unforgettable sequence. And that's just, for starters, that's just the opening of the flick. Clark Kent, thanks for supporting all my work, man. I think this is going to be it for now. There's going to be tones to pull all the important stuff to the foreground. But I think it's going to be dinner time. Wanted to get at least one drawing done before it was time to fill my belly. I think there's going to be 18, 19, 20. I think there's 5 more pages total to draw. So then after this one, might be semi-radio silent for a week while I write the next one. But there's actually some immediate stuff that needs to be addressed that'll probably still make the streams possible. But you guys are in for some stuff, man, because when Jimmy can start to let the world know about what he's working on, there might be 2 streams a day. Anyhow, that's one drawn for now. I want to thank you guys for joining the stream. Those of you who were able to pre-order the comic here in the States, thank you very much. Support your shop. If they're a cool shop, they'll be able to order the comic as well if you weren't able to pull the trigger on the pre-order. It's going to be coming out in May. First issue will be 64 pages. Every issue will be a self-contained story, like an extended Tales from the Crypt comic or something. They'll all be complete units. Oh, you know what? See, when you stare at this shit too long, you see opportunity. So you want to make that foot pop a touch. Then you put a splatter on the wall back there. You know, make that foot show up a bit more. And then within probably tomorrow when I finish this, you'll be able to see what the finished illustration looks like on my Instagram. If you just search my name out, add me up on there, you can see what the final stuff looks like with the duotone applied. Because this is pretty much, this is the halfway. This is the halfway mark. Cool. Anyhow, gonna bounce. I'm gonna go make some food, and I want to thank you guys for joining the stream. We'll do it again soon. Take care. See ya.